This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. All right, so let's talk about Jeff getting into the company. We've been filibustering here for a little while. He first makes his appearance with the WWF while he's still actually working for the USWA. It happens on August 9th, 1992, and he's participating in the kickoff to the very first cross-promotional angle between the USWA and the WWF. Of course, we've learned on previous episodes here that Jerry Jarrett was kind of pulling the strings. Jerry Lawler was kind of pulling the strings to make that happen since he had recently gone to work for the company. And we would see Jerry Lawler sitting ringside at a house show right there in Memphis, and Jeff Jarrett issues an open challenge to any WWF wrestler. Kamala accepts, and he actually gets the win by DQ. And Bret Hart then accepts Jarrett's challenge for a match the very next time the WWF comes to Memphis. Well, of course, as we know, Bret winds up losing the Intercontinental title to the British Bulldog at SummerSlam, so the Intercontinental Championship match with Jarrett never really happened. Can you give us any more details of how this whole cross-promotional angle was supposed to work and the changes that maybe happened along the way with the USWA and the WWF?
Well, I came back in September of 92. And so when I came back, Jerry Jarrett, the guy that was going to run the WWF when Vince went to jail. Oh, boy. Anyway, see, we're going to have to get into all of that all over again.
No, I don't think we have to.
Okay. But anyway, Vince was just going down. Vince was doing favors for the USWA, and at that time, in 92 at that time, was more for Jerry Jarrett. And that was more of an issue of Jerry looking for some help. We were trying to set up, little known fact, we were trying to set up a developmental territory in the Memphis territory at that time. This is 1992. Now imagine that. We were thinking about having a wrestling school in Nashville on Jerry's property there. He had a barn and had a wrestling ring in it. And the idea was that we would use some of the guys from Memphis. And Jerry's idea was to use Tony Falk. Tony's a great guy. Don't know how good of a trainer he was. I was new at the time, and I was new again, put it that way. I'm back in the fold and not wanting to step on anybody's toes this time. I just okay, I think it's a great idea to have some place where we can send talent to go and learn that we control. Jerry, his idea was one of having it under his roof, obviously there in his barn in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and to use his cronies and give the guys that work for him in Memphis a carrot to dangle in front of him to say, hey, you do this, I'll get you into the WWF. So that was the working relationship at the time. So Vince was sending guys down to help out from time to time on Memphis shows and Nashville shows if they needed the help.
So October of 92, Jarrett starts working house shows again for the WWF. Here he would defeat Mondo Clean, who we would later know as Damien Demento, and he would also get a win over Barry Horowitz. And then on October 28th, at a Wrestling Challenge taping, Jarrett picks up a win over Rick Martel. What's interesting here is he sticks with the company even through December and loses some house show matches to Bret. But then he goes back to the USWA in early 93. Any memories of why this run in late 92 didn't stick? I mean, why was this not the right fit at the right time? Was Vince sour on him, or what went sideways?
Vince wasn't so sour on him as there was a lot of perceived heat. There was an awful lot of heat on Jeff early on, just from the holdover heat Jerry Jarrett had for years. Anybody that had been through the Memphis territory, anybody that had worked Tennessee, Jerry Jarrett wasn't the most popular guy in the world. So Jeff coming in, guys looked at it, now he's bringing his kid in. He's bringing his kid in, going to push his kid. And that wasn't absolutely the most fair thing for Jeff, but that was a perception that talent had. And Vince didn't feel, especially bringing Jeff in as a babyface. Well, when Vince saw him work and Vince saw him around, with the long blonde hair and the outfits and everything. Jeff Jarrett oozes heel. It's just a natural heel.
Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com. All right, stop the tape. So let's sort of recap where we are. When Vince brings Jeff into the WWF, he brings him in as a heel when he had been working on top of all the other cards in Memphis and everywhere else as this charismatic young white meat babyface. So is it genius of Vince McMahon to see a heel here? Does Vince just think all Southerners are hateable? Or is it Vince's instinct to remake guys who were established just to do it? Let's throw them in deep water and just see what happens. We've heard a lot of times whenever a guy comes in with a lot of momentum, he's a top star somewhere else. Well, let's just beat him, see how he takes it. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that this was the right move to bring Jeff into the company when he's been a babyface, to bring him in as a heel? What did you think of that? Can't wait to ask Jeff that, actually.
Howdy, folks. Double J here. That's J-E-double-F. No, kidding, Conrad. How you doing, my friend?
Dude, how about this? A little run-in on something to wrestle. I'm fired up that we're getting to do a podcast, but hey, while Bruce is away, the mice will play, right?
Exactly right. No, I'm excited to, as you say, chat me up. But no, I can remember listening to this episode, which is really cool. Of course, God, what year was this? But I can remember there was one long-winded thing, and I'm sure we'll get to it. But the vignette story. And,
oh yeah,
all kinds of stuff. So anyhow, go ahead. You're the interviewer. I'm the interviewee. Fire away.
Listen, I'm sure we're going to talk about all of this stuff in individual episodes. So we're just going to sort of scratch the surface. But were you surprised that Vince wanted to bring you in as a heel?
No, no, I wasn't at all. And yes, I mean, here in Tennessee, the territory, the Memphis territory, Lawler was number one by far. And there was always sort of that slot, Dundee had gotten, in and out, but there was always sort of that number two slot. And being the promoter's kid, and it's a different era, completely different time. Me being a heel in this area wouldn't really work. And then when we went out to Texas, and you got to remember, this is late 80s, just sort of a different style. And in Tennessee, as opposed to WWF at the time. But then when you look at the WWF time, look at the cast of characters. I mean, that was the Hulkamania.
Yeah.
Coming off the heels of that by 93, but the late 80s were big, huge monster, quote unquote, baby faces. The Hogan and the Hogan clones and then the Road Warriors and everything that goes with that. So no, I knew pretty quick I would be a heel. And I was, to tell you the truth, at that point, I was 7 years into my career and can tell you that I could not wait to be a heel would be a huge understatement. I was ready to do it.
I can't wait for us to follow up on that sometime soon, but without further ado, let's jump back into it. Oh, and before I do, Jeff, this episode dropped, I think in September of 2017, which I guess now feels like about 10 years ago, doesn't it?
Boy, you get 2017. Yes. But a hell of an episode. If I remember correctly, it did well.
Yeah, it did very well. It was 4 hours. So we got a long show today.
But I remember, Bruce, we were working together in 2017. I think I remember him letting me know that.
Yeah, 4 hours. Woof. Let's get back to it. Here we go. It's Something to Wrestle with Jeff Jarrett. It's kind of weird. Here we go. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.